Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome here the first time. I'm practicing professional astrologer Stormie Grace, and today we're going to be diving into a comprehensive 2026 astrological forecast for your sign. And let me tell you what, this is a sweet bit of guidance that is extra special because it's not just me. I've invited over 4 other master astrologers in their particular expertise to really give you a full holistic look at your year. So we'll have me doing a general breakdown for you. Colin Bedell will be taking you through the relationship astrology for the year. Christeen Skinner is going to take care of you with all of the beautiful finance and material growth energy you need this year. Sutherland's on medical. Tiffany Harelik is back again, giving us our spiritual development. And because you asked for it, Helena Woods is taking us through some travel and expansion for 2026. Now, we're each going to be breaking down our sections, so you'll find the timestamps for each in the description box down below, along with links to that particular astrologer's work, as well as your tools to help you for the year ahead, including a beautiful worksheet we've got for you and your digital transit calendar from Wise Skies Collective. Make sure you use my code STORMIE2026 to get your beautiful discount. Now listen, this video is long, so settle in, make some tea, take some notes, just really allow yourself to have this be a sweet treat and a gift, a reflection for you for your next year. You do not have to take it all in at once. Come back to each section with a new cup of tea or a new snack and just really enjoy what we have to offer for you. That said, let's jump in and take a look at your 2026 forecast. Hello, my beautiful Aries friends, and welcome to your 2026 annual forecast. And let me tell you what, Aries, this year is your year. It's the year of rebirth. It's the year of redefinition. 2026 is, in fact, quite monumental for you because we've got two planets coming back into your signs. Not only that, you've already seen a preview of what they had to offer for energy for you to work with in 2025. Now it's like you're able to take their energy and do a rebranding, which means you're going to have a completely different experience with the energy this year, depending on how you work with it. Now, first and foremost, Aries, 2026 is kind of blazing us in as we're switching the elemental dynamics. We're moving from that earth and water into fire and air energies. This perfectly matches the Aries spark. So Neptune, Saturn entering into your sign, Jupiter's moving into Leo, Uranus is moving into Gemini again, right? All fire and air signs. So it's dynamic. It's fast moving. It matches your energy and it is full with potential for you to create not only the life that you want, but the actions. Really see yourself be in action with them this year. It's like a reawakening to vitality, and not every year is like that for you, Aries. So move your behind this year with a fair amount of confidence, but it's different kind of confidence this year, Aries. It's guided by some of the things you finished last year, which have given you a greater space of spiritual maturity. So by the end of this year, Aries, I think you are really going to look back and probably not recognize who you brought into 2026. And not because you lost yourself or anything like that, but because it feels like you're standing in a space of a lot more purpose and you're clear about it. So let's talk about some of the major transit themes that are going on for you. And remember, I will be with you every month, every week, and every day on Instagram, breaking these down in more depth, okay? So first of all, where we are rooting and renewing the identity, we're kicking off here in January with Neptune coming back into your sign. It came into your sign for just a little bit in 2025, and now it's going to be back. So it's reawakening this spiritual warrior essence within you, right? Now it's also Aries softened and will continue to soften some of the Aries edges where you've needed to be a bit more compassionate with yourself and lead with that spiritual maturity. You'll have more access to it. Then on February 13th, we see that Saturn is going to follow suit and come back into the vibration of Aries for the next couple of years. Just a week later, we've got Saturn and Neptune actually coming together at 0 degrees of Aries for their conjunction. They're coming together right at the Aries point. Not only is this powerful for you, but it's kind of the place where we have a cosmic spark of new creation for all of us. So while this does mark that global reset, it's also personal, Aries. It's highly personal for you because it's profoundly intimate, right? We're going into Aries. We want to see into Aries with this energy. Both of these energies lighting up your first house here is that you are rebuilding an entire sense of self, but you're also prepared to take your building and taking it out at the same time, like the show is on the road. Now, Saturn is going to call to you for structure, and it's going to call this year, Aries, to everything you touch, you say, you move, that it must be done in deep integrity, right? Well, Neptune is going to invite the compassion and a space for higher guidance to flow through you. So you're literally dissolving an old version of yourself and how you used to move and stepping into a more mature, spiritually aligned version of your identity. Now, for some of you, this transit is going to look like this year that you switch careers. You completely switch careers. You could completely switch up your personal style. Like, you had some prejudice against like styles or certain careers or certain means of being, certain identities, and you're switching up the game this year, right? And that will also attract a different kind of person to you this year. It's a shedding process for sure, which can sometimes be confusing, particularly I think in the beginning of the year, but it's also pretty holy and pretty practical work. It's quite elegant, actually, Aries. So, what it helps you to do ultimately here is learn to be and to walk in who you truly are today, the current version that has maybe been getting shed apart beneath the surface. So I want you to imagine this year, Aries, as we're going into it and you're thinking about the Saturn and Neptune work, that you're standing in front of a mirror this year. You can be naked if you like, right? You're standing in front of a mirror this year and you don't in the beginning of the year exactly recognize the reflection that's coming back at you because it doesn't match the inner truth anymore. And while you were starting to live that new truth like last year, then these planets went into retrograde. So you kind of had to pull back and review, soften to yourself, soften to the reality that maybe there's a lot more of Aries that's available. And now, as you're experiencing that feeling of Saturn and Neptune through this first house this year, you rewrite the story and the reflection is starting to match. I look forward to hearing how this is shaping up for you as you're traveling through the year. Now, when we get into April, we're going to see Uranus coming back into this Gemini energy, lighting back up this third house space for you, communications, learning, things around the neighborhood, your siblings, you're teaching, you're writing something. Maybe you're writing a book. Maybe you're writing the stuff on your new website. I love that for you, right? But the way that you think, you speak, you share ideas is now going to really go to work to have this pretty radical update. It really can bring these new writing projects to you, new learning opportunities, new teaching opportunities, sudden changes in how you use or you engage technology to include digital currency, right? But what you want to know here is that your voice, your third house becomes electric. And that also means that it can reach different and wider audiences or people that you're coming in contact with. When we get into June, Chiron is going to enter into the vibration of Taurus. So all of you out there who got Chiron in Taurus, you're getting ready to come to this Chiron return. It's making its way. It's a very big deal. We will be covering it this year. But for you, Aries, in the general, it's going to light up your second house space of money, how you allow creative finances to flow towards you, how you use your creative talents to make money, your self-worth in and of itself, and the things that you value. Now, Chiron here is seeking to help you heal around money, around just flat out the word money, your ability to have it, that you are allowed to have it. This is going to be a massive conversation for the Aries team this year. Money, security, the things you value in relationships, right? You're going to be learning this year how to honor what you bring to the table and to receive, to see that your worth isn't measured just by productivity, but it's also by presence and the value of what you bring to the table, right? It's not just being at the table, but it's the value of what you bring to the table. June 26th, we're going to see that Jupiter now moves into the vibration of Leo, lighting up your 5th house space. Joy, pleasure, play, creativity, romance, things around your children, they're all going to get an expansion at this time. And for some of you as well, there's some kind of international connection here. I'll be interested to hear what that is for you. But this is a gorgeous burst of inspiration after months of kind of going home, going into that introspective Cancerian placement, right? Where your energy was actually setting in square. This is a lot more friendly to your energy, Aries. You're rediscovering joy, pleasure, play. You're playing for the first time in years. Your children are coming out with their own expansion. Now, for some Aries folks, I do think that this is the year, you know, we hear it all the time. This is the year of the breakthrough. But I do think because the energy is more friendly, it is a year of a creative breakthrough for you, right? Or for some of you who've been wanting to do things around children, whether that's fertility, adoption, you're becoming a step parent, something like this, these can all be on the table as well. Aries, July, let me just say it. July is wild. It's wild. We have got sextiles, trines, oppositions. Oh my. Okay. It is a fireworks display to your growth and a crescendo happening in July. So we will be covering everything in depth. You want to buckle up your little seatbelts though when July comes. But what I also love about July is that I think at that point in the year, you're going to see the results of every area where you courageously chose to change. You did it consciously, you did it intentionally, right? And because of that, that change that's in place from July forward, but particularly in July, people are going to be magnetized towards you. You know, we've got Uranus, Neptune sextile, Uranus, Pluto trine. These are all awakenings of new ideas that are coming from a version of yourself that just was on the fence about some stuff earlier in 2025, maybe even earlier in the year. But there's also this radical kind of initiation in the world where like ideas that you had weren't ready yet, your insights weren't ready yet. You are now going to have a space where in the collective evolution, there's a readiness for that. Now, we can't miss out on the fact that we've got the nodes changing signs this year, which is going to bring us into a different position with these eclipses. But first, in July, we're also going to see that the true North Node is going to move into Aquarius, into your 11th house, and we'll see that that South Node moves into Leo, into your 5th house. Now, for those of you who don't work with the true North Node, Aries, if you're working with the mean node, you're going to see that that nodal shift actually happens on July 17th, okay? So just sort out whether you're using the true or the mean node. And if you want a video on the difference between the both of those, I'm happy to make one. So let's work with the 26th with the true North Node, moving into Aquarius into the 11th, Leo into the 5th house space. This is going to shift us from that Pisces Virgo reflection of how do we serve through spirit and make that in a material, become a material reality, into the invitation to step beyond the individual recognition of your fire and doing what you do, to actually seeing how your creative power, you want it to be a part of a collaborative force now. You're using it not for validation, but for connection. Right? You don't want to shine alone. You're seeing, I can't just shine alone. I've got to do it as a part of some collaborative, some collective vision that's going to bring the we to a fulfillment by me doing my part. Now, to help us with those shifts, we have the eclipses. Our first eclipse is actually early in the year in Virgo. So, March 3rd, we're going to have a solar eclipse happening at 12 degrees of Virgo, lighting up your sixth house space. Okay, so we've been seeing this. We've been seeing this. We've been working with this. So our first eclipse we're going to have the year is actually going to be February 17th, where we've got the full moon lunar eclipse. Now, our first eclipse that we're going to have for the year is actually going to be in February 17th at 28 degrees, where we are going to see that we've got a solar eclipse, a new moon solar eclipse happening in Aquarius. So lighting up your 11th house base. So I'm telling you, new friends are coming in, new social groups, new ways that you are connecting to those groups are making their way into you, and it's being eclipsed, right? So this is going to play out over the next 6 months, but also your ability to use your skills for a joining. After that, March 3rd, we're going to see that we have got a lunar eclipse, and this one is happening at 12 degrees of Virgo. Now, we've been working on this in your sixth house energy all through 2025, so this is not new information, but it will bring the next set of ending, right? Something in your daily routines, your health, your wellness, a common connection that you've had, a way that you've been of service to something will likely be taking a transition and cutting away. When we get to August 12th, we've got our next solar eclipse. It's going to be happening here at 20 degrees of Leo. So again, we're planting our seeds of intention, but this is going to be to begin something new in this fifth house area for you. It's a new beginning in love, in joy, in pleasure, in play, in creative expression. It's where joy and purpose come together, but this could also be a true story. Your children are having some kind of beginning, or children in your life are having some kind of beginning in this area. Now, our final lunar eclipse for the year is going to be August 28th at 4 degrees of Pisces. Again, we've been in the Pisces realm already, but this is lighting up the 12th house space for you, a deeply spiritual release is on the table here with this lunar eclipse, right? Let it go. Let that shit go. Let it go. That is what I'm going to tell you. Let it go. Let it go. The past, the old fear, the old self, the patterns that were not seen before but have been made seen and made clear to you, the idea that you're going to be able to live and move and have your being on your own energy alone, that conversation, I think, is off the table for you, or within this 6 months becomes very clear to you that it is off the table, that you do live in some kind of divine realm, whatever you want to name and call that. But that acknowledgement makes a space for you to breathe freely again. So together, the eclipses this year in this fire and air year weave the story of alignment, purpose, and play, and remind you that any kind of true service you're going to do in this world starts with joy and then continues with sharing that joy with the next. All right, my beautiful Aries, 2026 is the start of a next lifetime for you. It really is, right? Like, you hear astrologers saying the best new thing, or, whatever we say, right? This year really is, because we're all kicking off at the Aries point. So it is the start of a new lifetime. It is a start to the next version of you coming into the table in action. You're not just rewriting who you are anymore. This is the year you're living it. So it's not about becoming more. You are taking what has become and you're living it out loud. And I cannot wait to see what you do with that. All right, beautiful Aries friends, I'm going to pass you along to beautiful Colin, who's going to talk you through what's coming up in your relationships and how to consider creating connection, not control, in them for 2026.
Welcome to your 2026 Love Horoscope. We love having you here at Stormie Grace's channel. And no matter your sign, it's important to remember that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. So I want to talk to you, Aries, about the quality of your relationships in 2026. First things first, as the very first zodiac sign, Aries, it's important to note that this year is offering you a profound transformation, given the fact that both Saturn and Neptune, which rules construction and deconstruction, Saturn as construction, Neptune as reconstruction, is entering Aries. So, who you are is about to go through a really significant transformation, I would hope to believe in a very positive way. And so your relationships will naturally reflect those changes. Now, regarding probably the most significant time of the year for your relational reset, we're going to want to first look at the fact that Venus enters Libra, your polarity sign, which rules your romantic relationships, on August 6th of this year until September 10th of this year. So, this first chapter is incredibly significant, Aries, because I think what you're going to understand is how to manage your new self with the other, and then how to not lose yourself while holding on to your relationships, and then how to hold on to your relationships without losing yourself. Right? That's all any Libra transit is trying to help us achieve is balance. Now, where things get even more curious for you, Aries, is then on October 3rd, Venus will retrograde in Scorpio. And it's going to retrograde in the earliest degrees of Scorpio, which means it will then return to Libra. So it's going to return to Libra on October 25th, where it will then stay until December 4th. And this chapter is going to be really important for you because it will probably rhyme with the August 6th to September 10th one, right? Because as you know, retrogrades are a 3-act story, right? Because it's the first direct phase, the retrograde phase, and then the return phase, okay? So Venus will retrograde from October 3rd until November 14th. And what I want you to know is that when Venus returns to Libra on let me make sure I got this date right. October 24th and stays until December 4th. This is going to be your moment to really hold your newfound autonomy in equilibrium with your romantic relationships, and then do your best to support other people as they are trying to advocate for their new self as well. Because as we know, it's not just about you getting what you want all the time, although I only want you to get what you want all the time. It is also about you supporting your relationship of all kinds as well. So it's a matter of holding the balance of both ends. So that's my 2026 horoscope for you, Aries. I really believe that your sign is much more relational than it gets credit for, because you are such a champion for other people. You really demonstrate love as a verb, and you know how to show up for other people in very demonstrative, actionable ways. So my hope is that this year you continue to do that you continue to get the support from the people around you to be that demonstrative sign that I know and love you to be. And I hope you have an absolutely fantastic new year. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Hello, Aries, and welcome to your financial forecast for 2026. This promises to be such a hugely exciting year for those of your sign. Yes, the two planets, Saturn and Neptune, align in your sign in February. Neptune marks the beginning of a long journey that will take several years. Saturn's arrival indicates that you'll be in charge. I think a really good image would be to imagine that you're the captain of a ship. You're the chief executive officer, but you're also the chief financial officer, and you're also in charge of supplies. Now, given that Jupiter will move into another of the fire signs halfway through the year, sort of from the summer solstice, which is an easy date to remember, June the 21st, we know that your research and development department will want to go into overwork. Actually, it'll want to go even more because it's going to get super exciting between September the 28th and about the end of November. But let's just back up a little bit. If you're in charge of the ship, the first thing you need to know is what your assets are. So from the start of the year through until the solar eclipse in February, about February the 20th, think about your asset management. What have you actually got in the hold? What can you use and what can be turned into gold later in the year? And that is absolutely possible. Yes, it's true that Chiron, which acts as a bridge between Saturn and Uranus, moves into Taurus and your financial zone from, roughly speaking, the end of May. And when it does that, that's a bit of an overture for difficulties that are likely to come in 2027. This gives you a heads up. Now, don't, whatever you do, underestimate just how creative you can be. You know how to spin gold. So, yes, there are a few weeks, just a few weeks, when you really will have to put your thinking cap on. But with good networking, and again, don't underestimate your ability to reach out and bring the right team together. By the time we get to the end of September, your research and development department, which is also where you create financial growth, should be working full time and doing super, super well. So the broad thing about 2026 is that, yes, you are going to feel burdened by a responsibility and you will have to take charge. But again, just think about the title you want to wear. Assume you have those talents. And don't forget that Mars, your ruling planet, starts the year at the apex of your solar chart and then moves all the way around during the course of the year to touch on that critical financial zone, which it does throughout October and the better part of November. And that's when you really can move yourself up the financial ladder. I wish you well on your journey and assure you that the cosmos has great plans for you.
Hey Aries, welcome to, or it's about to be 2026. So what is going on for the year ahead? There's lots of transits. I've picked 3 major things for you to have a focus on this year as you run around with your busy selves. So some things to kind of stop and have a look at as we go forward. So you can't not discuss the Mercury retrogrades. Now, they're all happening this year in water signs, which for a busy fire sign is an interesting thing. But as I like to say to my Aries clients, Mercury retrogrades are a great time to remember to kind of take stock, look at everything you've been doing, and reassess where you need to, what needs to have more focus and what needs to you need to let go of or not worry about. It's that pause before you move forward again. And I really like that, as busy as an Aries gets, we need a lot of downtime and we need some alone time. And so I love during these Mercury retrogrades, if you could take some more time for yourself for some self-care. With them all being in water signs, it is about reassessing emotionally what's going on at that time and how it's affecting you physically. Now, the first retrograde is happening in Pisces, which is all about the immune system. It's also happening right before your birthday, and our immune system and our health is often weakest in the month before our birthday. So a great time to kind of stop, see what's flowing, what's not, release things, get ready for that new solar return year for you, and really nurture and support lots of bedtime, lots of sleep, lots of dreams, all that beautiful Pisces stuff. When we have the retrograde in Cancer, it's a great time to check in, it's halfway through the year, and how is the year progressing, but also how are you digesting life? What foods are you choosing to eat to nourish yourself, and how is your body responding to that? Really, because for an Aries, this is, Cancer, 4th house, the home environment, taking that time and resettling. I do a big, I think it's a great time to do a cupboard or pantry clean out and reset with foods you're choosing to eat, because we are, all of us, the best of times, emotional eaters. Whereas the Scorpio retrograde, that time out to look at what you still need to release this year, emotionally, physically, really working on all your elimination channels and getting rid of the things in life that are bothering you, that are weighing you down, and releasing them, because that can often, a lot of emotional things, if we're holding on, depending on the rest of our chart, can really impact our energy and our stress levels. So also looking at how to take care of ourselves emotionally and detox to help with the physical body. The next two transits for Aries are interesting because we've already been having it last year, but we've got both Saturn coming back into Aries from Pisces, and it's going to stay there for quite, now until 2028. And we also have Neptune coming back, starting that dance together. It's so interesting because with, Saturn and Neptune are both planets that can decrease our energy levels. Saturn can bring a bit of tiredness. We need to stay still with Saturn. Saturn's actually the original ruler of sleep. Now, an Aries doesn't like to sit still. So Saturn coming into Aries, in some ways, I think it's a great transit for the next couple of years because it's like, oh, how am I going to realign and what is important? Where are my boundaries? What is my energy worth spending on? And I want you to really think about that this year. We push our adrenals so fast, our brain is going so fast, and it's this great time to really look at where are my boundaries around how much I give versus how to others versus what I give to myself, and holding some cards in your hand for yourself, taking care of that physicality, the bones, the skin, the skeleton. Saturn is what holds us up and holds us in. It's our structures. And I love that for kind of restocking the Aries. No, it's not going to be your highest energy year, but this is the year to really realign and start some great routine and habits. Habits started under a Saturn transit last a very long time. So bringing then in that Neptune is also coming back into Aries, and it's going to be there for quite a while. And Neptune is that no boundaries, and it can be food sensitivities. It's the immune system, but it's also, we can really drain energy or be a bit tired where Neptune comes again, connected to sleep and dreams. But it's also, I love Neptune coming in. It's like with that Saturn, it's like that manifestation of spirit into the physical. But again, stopping and really taking note of what's going on for us. We are going to need to support our immune system in a big way with the entrance here. You might find that you're more sensitive to some foods that you haven't been sensitive to before. Supporting the immune system. One of the best ways for an Aries to do that is to not push their adrenals too hard. So immune system and adrenal support. Your food's really high in B vitamins are amazing. Your foods high in magnesium are amazing for the adrenals and to give us some energy. So those B's and magnesium, dark green leafy veggies, a little bit of dark chocolate. Some of your grains are great in B vitamins, magnesium-rich foods, almonds. If you choose to take supplements, please always check with medications you're on. Oh my gosh, there's so many foods. But Aries, it's like the settling year. You're still going to have plenty of energy, but it's that pulling in, figuring out what is important, what is not, releasing the rest, and making sure you're getting enough sleep. That's probably my biggest thing for the Aries this year. When sick, it means it's time to take time out for yourself, getting yourself in some water, some beautiful dreams with that Neptune, really locking in those habits. Neptune can make us kind of overdo things, be it alcohol or, overeating, that no boundary. So again, that play between these two planets as it enters Aries is really important for you to focus on this year, and creating some phenomenal habits is what I would really be doing. You have the ability to manifest a pretty phenomenal body. We've had, last but not least, we've had Chiron going through Aries for quite a while. It is going to be there for, until June. It has a little dally into Taurus, then it comes back to Aries to make sure we've done our work. And I think Chiron in Aries has been isn't easy. There's a lot of work going on with Chiron, going through your own sign. And that's that real realigning and looking at the wounding around yourself and your own identity and how you perceive yourself. As we move it to Taurus, it then becomes the wounding around how we value ourselves. And, those flow very well with each other. I really find a lot of Aries have had a lot of self-discovery about who they are and how their brain works and how how they have just become who they are. And I think there's been a lot of healing with that. So just making sure you're still doing that work, even if you've passed the big transits before we hit Chiron and Taurus, which is then not just knowing who we are, but actually finding our own value. I'm kind of excited for the Aries and that process moving forward. So, yeah, just a reminder for this year. Sleep, really big for you, really big. Laying down those new boundaries and habits, letting go of the Neptunian unhealthy. I'm not saying you all have addictions. We all have, whether it's social media or staying up late or, getting in tune with your own physical body and finding rhythms that are really working for you. That's what I would really like you to do this year. And then with each retrograde Mercury, checking in on the emotions, not just the physical and the action. So that's my wishes for you this year, Aries.
Hey Aries, welcome to your 2026 Spiritual Astrology Forecast. My name is Tiffany, and you found us on the Stormie Grace channel, so we're so glad you're here. I write the Wise Skies Digital Astrology Calendar, and we have a code for you guys to get a discount on the calendar. So thanks for being here. Look for the code in a little bit. If we haven't worked together before, again, my name is Tiffany. I practice in Far West, Texas. I have a background with a master's in health psychology. I'm doing music events and I wrote several cookbooks. I have a publishing company. I love studying yoga in India, and I'm a beekeeper. So after a near-death experience, actually, it was the moment that my sun in Scorpio progressed into Sagittarius. I was on a mission trip, but after this near-death experience, it really opened me to the spiritual world to see things in a new way. And I have been on my own study ever since. I started looking at astrology and looking at the forecast back in 2000. So for quite some time. And as we're starting to just get into the divine timing of 2026, I wanted to introduce the concept of spiritual astrology. So that is really what I'm practicing. Spiritual astrology comes from the evolutionary astrology lineage. Your code for the calendar, guys, is Stormie 2026. You can go to wiseskiescalendar.com. But this idea about spiritual astrology, we're all going to go through kind of the similar life patterns. We're going to have heartache, we're going to have grief, we're going to have joy. There's going to be peaks and valleys, mountains, right, that call us into the wilderness, and then just these downtimes, right? The downtimes are not wasted times. But what I'm looking at with the spiritual astrology forecast is, how is my soul evolving? What am I learning on this trip? When we look at the mirror of the sky, when we look at the cosmos and the forecast, it's a tool to help us understand, yes, our purpose, and yes, our spiritual gifts, and open us up to something that is way more metaphysical than it is physical. There's an inner journey that's going on, and every transit of 2026 invites us to understand these deeper, eternal and ethereal truths, and get beyond kind of some of the material substance of it all, right? Like we can look deeper. What's spiritual astrology? It's just looking at astrology through the lens of the soul growth. So not like, is this going to happen and when, but what am I learning through this? And am I surrendering? Am I softening? Am I being prayerful and mindful as I'm looking at what's going on in my life? The question I get asked the most as an astrologer is, what's the purpose of life? And what I've learned over the last 25 years, for me, my answer is to glorify the Creator and reflect His love to each other. You're going to have a different answer. I would love to hear about it. Your answer, as mine, may change over time. But this is something to just anchor us into the talk on our spiritual forecast. And I had a very dear friend, astrologer, tell me one time, Tiffany, prayer transcends the planets. It's a different thing. And I just think that's so beautiful to bring into the conversation that our guiding light is the creator, not the created, right? So your 2026 planetary ecosystem, what we're going to use is your age. We're going to consider the wilderness cycle, and then we're going to look at the quarterly forecast. So the wilderness cycle, just briefly, this is going to be moments where we feel like we are cast out into the desert in exile, completely alone, isolated, and different. Very Chiron, right? The word planet comes from wandering star or wanderer. And so we can look at it through the Greek lens or the Hebrew lens, and we come up with this concept of wandering. And so wandering is a spiritual experience, to go for a long walk. All of the great thinkers went on these long walks. Some of you might have been drawn to do the big long walks of our lifetime, like the Camino, or doing the Inca Trail in Peru, or some other trail that you have been walking on. But if you're wandering, all who wander are not lost. So to enjoy this forecast, you just need your sun sign. You need to know how old you are, and you need to start considering your personal deserts. Where have you been experiencing dryness, aloneness, isolation? And what is it that do you think, what lesson are you going to come out of that desert, dryness, wilderness with? Don't come back empty-handed, right? Don't leave before you find that little miracle nugget. And what is it that you think that the Creator calls you? What's your spiritual name? What is your spiritual identity? Right? These are the kind of questions I want you to be considering in 2026. So for you, Aries, you are the brave heart. You are the brave heart. And if you would like just to receive a message from Spirit, it goes like this. I gave you the fire of courage, Aries. You lead others through the wilderness, daring to go first. Use your passion to fight for justice and lift the weary. Your gifts are bold leadership, a pioneering spirit, and your contagious courage. So how old are you, Aries? I want you to find the number, your age number. If you're 44, here it is. You're in a 9th house year. If you are 48, you're in a 1st house year. If you are 89, you're in a 6th house year. And then take a gander over here at some of the themes that might be prevalent for you during this age, right? So here's just a list that I made based on the lens of spiritual astrology. So use that with you, write it down in your notebook, journal about it later. This changes with your birthday. Another lesson that I condensed into one slide. This is months of study, of course, but you also might be going through a really special age that is part of one of the natural life cycles of the soul. So I'm not going to linger and teach a class here, but I want you to know that there are certain ages that all of us experience these astrological shifts in these life cycles of the soul. And so you can take a screenshot of this too, and maybe play with it, journal through it a little bit later. Okay. So 2026 is a 1 year. The year before was a 9 year of culmination, integration, blending things together, tying up loose ends, eliminating things, minimalizing things, saying goodbye, ending something, completing something. And if you haven't already taken a moment to do that, do that. Complete the thing, finish the thing, top it off, bury it. Like, what is it that you need to let go of so that we can enter 2026 with freshness, aliveness, presence, right? And so 1 year brings focus. So sometimes there can be a tendency to have blinders on, but on the positive side, it gives us that fresh start feeling. It's a whole new experience. When I think about going into a 1 year, I think about just that wilderness cycle, and it's not a luxury, but it's something that we have to do as humans from time to time. We need to take that time out. So if you aren't currently using a day of rest, right? If you aren't currently taking a day off just once a week, try that for your 2026 goals. If you need, if you need to schedule some more time off and go on a sort of sabbatical, even if it's just a short period of time, this wilderness, we all need that, just alone time with us and God, right? That's what the bees provide for me. It's just me and God out there. So the flowers associated with the one are the sunflower and the marigold. And I think we'll see that come up in our 2026 themes. So how I'm looking at this astrologically is the first quarter is all about seeds and foundations. Out of nothing, something comes, right? The second quarter is all about growth, rebirth, renewal. The third quarter is all about this starvation and revelation. So tests, alignment, fasting, really questioning, right? We need that. Our soul needs that. And then our last quarter of the year, I'm looking at harvest time, another renewal time, and just this sense of lost and found redemption stories, right? So in quarter one, if we just start there, we're planting some seeds, and it's out of nothing, out of the darkness of winter, out of the darkness of the night, the new moon cycle, out of nothing, something comes, right? There is a spiritual force that makes the seed grow, right? There is a lunar pull. There is something that we can't make happen that happens despite how great we are, right? What a good girl we are. There's some creative force that keeps the continuation of life going. In this first quarter, we're going to see an eclipse in Aquarius. Mercury will retrograde, and we'll also see an eclipse in Virgo. So again, we're leaving that 9 year and coming into a 1 year. So what can we really stop? Where can we clear some space? And are we quiet enough in the dark period of the year to listen for direction? And who are we listening to? And what relationship are we cultivating there? A journal prompt for your first quarter is, what new foundation am I building with prayerful direction? Guess we needed a full 2 L's there. All right, so we're going to move into this month by month with the quarter. January is a 2-month and a 1 year. So the 2 is all about relationships and cultivating relationship, not just with other people, but also with our Creator. In the program of recovery, right? And when you start the recovery program, the first step is that we admitted we were powerless over XYZ, over insert topic, right? And so this admission that we are powerless over something means that there's an invitation to believe that there's a higher calling, a higher power that knows better than we do. And so are we in right relationship with that higher power? For me, that one is God. January, you could go through some of those journal prompts. Can I slow down and really feel if I'm in right relationship with my Creator and with other people? What's it like to be on the other side of me, right? I want you to pump the brakes a little bit in January and take less. Don't bring it all in. Leave some stuff out that you want to bring into 2026. It's like that Coco Chanel quote. Is it Coco Chanel, guys? I don't know. It's like, put on all of the jewelry that you want to put on all the makeup, put on all the accessories, and then take the last thing off, or take one thing out. Just put all your dreams in the pot and then take something out. Mercury's going to square Neptune and Chiron's going to go direct. So the very first of the year is kind of slow, distorted, foggy. It's a gate of surrender. Mercury wants to think our way through. Mercury wants to plan. And it's in a challenging position to Neptune, which dissolves, which requires surrender, which requires that we can't know everything, right? There's no way we're going to get it all right. And so there's a concept about stopping fighting. So what is it that you could stop thinking through, planning, fighting? What could you surrender to and just not care about the outcome or if you win, and start to be more in the flow of the present moment? Something that's interesting going on the first couple weeks of January is that Venus and the Sun and Mars all are hovering around 22 Capricorn, which means that they are all opposing Jupiter and then squaring Chiron. Okay, so there's a Sabian symbol with 22 of Aries, where Chiron is. That's a woman in pastel colors carrying a heavy and valuable but veiled load. So throughout the forecast, you're going to see that I have a Sabian symbol that you can journal through at that time, right? You can see, what do I think that means? What do I think that means for me right now? A woman in pastel colors, somebody that's appearing gentle and angelic, carrying something that's heavy and valuable, but veiled, right? So again, it's this idea that we can't know it all and we can't carry it all with us forward. For you, Aries, this is a month to reintroduce yourself, right? Reintroduce yourself. What is it? Who are you going to be this year, right? Who are you in this season? What does the Creator call you to be this season, this month? How does it look? February, I'm asking us to just stay open-minded. It is a 3-month, which honors our creative instincts, something that's wanting to happen through us. And it's in a 1 year. Again, that kind of fresh new beginning. A new chapter is being written through you. Uranus direct in Taurus is going to slow us down. Okay, this is another first week that feels much more slow than it does fast. Uranus direct in Taurus, will we see some things going on with our food systems? Will we see some things going on with the earth and weather events? On the 14th, Saturn moves back into Aries and will stay there through April 12th of 2028. So Saturn has been dipping around Pisces and Aries, and it will be solidly in Aries for quite some time. And Venus conjuncts the North Node in Pisces around this time. So Saturn in Aries feels very militant. It feels very strategic. It feels very bones and order and just like very governmental, right? And in Aries, right, there can be this, it's a very different feeling. Like Saturn is slow and long-term and thinking through all the way out, thinking ahead. And Aries is a lot more passionate and fiery and in the moment. And so there's a reconciliation going on between those two energies that are needed, right? There's an eclipse in 28 degrees of Aquarius. We are absolutely going to continue to see some sudden social shifts. So sudden social shifts, say that 8 times fast. Aquarius, right? Pluto is in Aquarius, not quite at 28 degrees, but this idea that there's going to be sudden social shifts is going to continue for quite some time. It's not just one monumental year, it's a monumental chunk of history, right? Okay, and a butterfly is emerging from the chrysalis. Venus is going to trine Jupiter. That's a jackpot. That's an open door. That's beautiful, sensual, gorgeous Venusian woman answers the door to Jupiter, right? The king, the philosopher, the one who's been very well traveled, that has all the jewels and the ideas and the spiritual connections. And so this is a really great transit for love and money, and it's on 222. How cool is that? So I just wanted to call your attention to one of my favorite days of the year, and it's absolutely during eclipse season. Eclipses, guys, we can feel that up to 90 days in advance. And so what you want to do to personalize this is look at your chart, look at where 28 degrees Aquarius is, notice what house it's in, notice if there's planets right on top of it, conjunct or right opposite or squaring it. Get with your astrologer and figure out where it is going to affect you personally. Aquarius rules the collective. It rules tech, right? Rules AI. And so this idea of being really responsible with information that we share in groups. All right, Mercury is going to retrograde there in Pisces, and Mars is going to square Uranus. And so I do feel like there will be disruptions and discord, a little bit of chaos here. Mars is hot, Uranus is sudden, abrupt, unpredictable. And so I want everybody to stay careful, especially with Mercury retrograde in Pisces. It just feels like if you're more accident prone, just take every step carefully. Take deep breaths, notice where your big toe is, stay grounded, stay centered, and recommit to your spiritual practices. For you, Aries, I'm looking at that Aquarius eclipse, and I'm looking at it, all right, like how might it affect you guys? I'm thinking you're going to see some breakthroughs within your community. I'm thinking you're going to see some news within your local media that things change. Like for me, when I moved here where I'm living now, the first day that I moved here, they did a big, huge headline story about how they took fluoride out of the water. It would be that type of a moment, like a breakthrough in the community. We're doing something different. Could be oriented towards tech, or it could be oriented towards different neighborhood groups, HOAs, things like this. Okay, stay creative in February. In March, it's a 4-month, so we're building new foundations and we're accepting what is. So we're not lost in la la land. We're building with reality. We have more clarity, even though we've got this big, huge eclipse going on in Virgo. March kind of has some trickster energy to it. Mars doesn't want to be in Pisces, and Venus doesn't really want to be in Aries. And it's that mixed, upside down type unnatural feeling to it. It's like that Mars with the drive and focus and stamina in fluid Pisces. It's like, I don't know where to go. I want to go somewhere. I don't know where to go. And then Venus, right, which would be a little bit more relaxed and luxurious and sweet and leaning back, right? And Aries. So it's like, I really just want to take this all in. And Aries is like, no, go forward. So there's this push-pull energy going on with those two planets, while we've got a powerful statesman overcoming a state of political hysteria during this. Virgo rules like the working class, the work, the jobs. Virgo, I think about being pure and blameless with Virgo, the virgin. And so where is it that you have a redemption story that you're writing? Jupiter will move direct in Cancer, and Mercury will eventually go direct there in Pisces on the same day as our equinox. So for you, Aries, what kind of daily disciplines are you recommitting to or are being disrupted that you're getting to be patient with? This eclipse is going to affect your daily discipline, what you do on a day in, day out basis. It's going to give you some reasons to stay curious about how you're spending your time and why you're doing it in that certain way, and you might find it very liberating. The Virgo eclipses tend to unplug us from that routine. And so if you're seeking routine, right, maybe you're going to find it around this time. And if you have routine and it's disrupted, that's going to feel like a great opportunity for you to have a reset, okay? Uh, so especially right here as we shift seasons too, I think you're going to get a nice reset when it comes to your job or what you're doing on a daily basis. Something needs to change. And so will you let it, right? Will you accept that something needs to change with that? Or you don't have to, right? You can just keep doing what you're doing. The creator let us suffer as long as we want to, but there will be some door of opportunity for you to have a different day-to-day experience. So what's shifting for you? Here's something fun. What are some seasonal foods that encourage grounding this time of year? Aries, I was thinking about maybe a spiced lentil soup with a little bit of chili oil. I have a great lentil soup recipe. It's very bland. It's actually not spiced, and there's no chili oil in it. So if you're not a spicy person, don't add those in. If you are already consistently hot and heated and acidic, leave the spices out. But I just wanted to have some fun and play with some of the seasonings and flavors for each of the signs, and I thought that might be a fun one for you guys. Okay, in our second quarter, there's growth, there's stimulation, there's new ideas. The seed that was planted in the dark night has now opened up, and the flower is searching for the sun and the sunlight. There's a sense of renewal, rebirth. Uranus is going to move back into Gemini. Chiron is going to move into Taurus. Those are biggies, right? And then we'll have another Mercury retrograde period. So where we need to have some discernment, we need to stay rooted and while life is accelerating. So just because the blossom is taken off and looking for its light source, we still have to have those roots underground. So this is a blend of root to rise concepts. So where am I called to grow in faith and not fear? Where am I ready to get out of my comfort zone? Anyway, go forward anyway. There are so many times, so many stories I could tell you as a woman who relies on our creator for total provision, right? Provision. If you feel the calling and you know the sound, you know the feeling, you know the vibe, and you know you're supposed to go somewhere, do something, will you lean in for some provision? The last 2 trips I've taken, where I knew I was supposed to be somewhere to speak about bees, I went forward thinking I was going to have to pay for everything, and nothing. It didn't turn out that way at all. The Airbnb gave me it for free. They had some roofing situations. The people bought my dinner while I was out there. There was support all along the way. So there was no need for me to be afraid. If I felt called, I should go, trusting that the support was going to be there, right? Okay, this is a busy screen. Stay with me. April's a 5 month and a 1 year. So 5, it can spread us too thin. We can be too scattered. So we need to be flexible, but we also need to be aware that we are in a 1 year. Like focus, rein it in. There's going to be a tendency to say yes and do too many things. And there's some challenging, very, very challenging astrology in April, some that I didn't list here. I think that April may be one of the more challenging months of the year and one of the more challenging months that I've looked at in a long time. Mars is conjunct Neptune. That's very distorted, very diffuse, very confusing. Mars, our spiritual warrior, next to Neptune. Is it spiritual warrior or is it misguided crusader, right? Could go either way, 50-50. At the same time, Venus is sextiling Jupiter and Mercury is up in that business too. Mercury's up there with Mars and Neptune. So it feels like leadership. It feels like presidential. It feels like major authority figures. It feels like what kind of battles are we fighting, and a reminder that it's not material, it's supernatural, right? Mars conjunct Saturn. Again, these are the malefics working together hand in hand in Aries in your sign. So stimulating many of your sun signs. So we've got Mars, Saturn, Aries, Neptune, Mercury, all just super stimulating right now for you guys. So it feels hot. It feels like, I guess the advice would be, where am I going too fast? And what structures am I willing to lean into? The idea of the banks of the river is that there's Saturn, we need the banks of the river in order to Neptune be able to flow. So we need both, right? We need both structure and formless. And that is going to be a reminder. We need the ideas, but we also need the focus, right? So there's this juxtaposition of the energy going on. Yeah, and well, Uranus moving back into Gemini and it'll stay there for quite some time. The topics that we see around this, the themes rather we see around Uranus and Gemini are going to be about educational reform, power grid issues, imaging, like taking pictures with drones and aerial photography, and as well as extreme weather solutions, right? Aries, for you guys, this means that you are going to be changing the way that you're thinking, talking, speaking, and it's going to be much faster. It's going to be much easier. You're not going to have to slow yourself down with the ideas that you're coming up with or what you want to contribute or how you want to participate. You're going to be able to be much more like a leaf on a fast moving stream. But I do think that is room for caution when you're traveling in April. I think this is all a big old safety, like red lights come on for me in April. The story of the starfish is that there's a young boy and all of the starfish have washed up on the ocean, washed up on the the sand. And there's a boy and he's throwing a starfish back in. And I mean, there's hundreds of them, right? And the old man next to him says, you can't save them all. And he says, well, I can save that one. It mattered to that one, right? And so the idea, the theme, the story is to go back for that one that you're saving, that you're wanting to save, that you're wanting to put back into the river or the ocean, right? Which represents our spiritual nature, water representing the spiritual side. So think about these ideas. Where do you get your quick hits, Aries? Do you get it when you're driving, walking? Do you get it when you're in the shower? Do you get it when you're in the sauna? Do you get it when you're sitting still for meditation? Do you get it when the wind is blowing? Do you get it when you light a candle? And just think about where you get your insights, your aha moments, where you sit quietly to listen and focus, because the tendency is going to be scattered and be scattered by information that feels perhaps overwhelming and concerning, right? Okay. May, cooler heads prevail. So it's a 6 month and a 1 year. The sixes are always my favorite months. The sixes represent, if you look at the numerology, they kind of look like a pregnant body. And so it's always a time of nesting, of home, of sanctuary, of calm, of safety, of security, of rest. What we're looking at here is that Mercury is conjunct Chiron in Aries and it's squaring Pluto. May is a big old Pluto month. There are other things going on, but Pluto's going to retrograde. in Aquarius, and then Mars is going to square retrograde Pluto, right? So the heat heats up, and Pluto unearths things. It digs stuff up from underground. It takes something that is out of the underneath the soil and brings it up to see what's going on here. This is like turning lead into gold. Pluto's the great alchemist. Pluto, nothing stays the same around it. It's a wrecking ball of sorts. It's the harbinger of great change. And with a square to Mars, it's change that might be uncomfortable but needed. So getting way outside of your comfort zone, just watch out for the hotheads out there. Cooler heads prevail. And know that, again, this is affecting your 11th house. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius for quite some time is going to be activating the power that is available in your community. And you are a natural leader. You are the brave heart. You have the courage. You have the vision. You have the ability to start the fire, Aries. And so where is it that you see that some changes should be happening in leadership? And is that in your own home? You know, let there be peace. Let it begin with me. Okay. For June, I'm saying that we've got to tap into that nostalgia on the journey home. So if I'm going to talk about spiritual astrology, I want to talk about what is the journey home, right? It's a great book, by the way, by Radhanath Swami. But if you haven't considered what feels like home, you might be bracing against, right? It's a very yogic idea to practice our own death, right? To practice shavasana, to shut the eyes at the end of the practice and just go out into the cosmic space. So where is home? Where is your spiritual home? What is it like on the other side for, your belief system, right? That there's this idea that if you don't know, love, trust your creator, that there's a bracing against, there's an unwillingness to want to go home, and there's a clinging to this physical world. And I just think that those ideas can be challenged during this June. It's a 7-month, it's a spiritual staircase month when we're being more spiritual, when we're being more inward. And Chiron moves into Taurus in June. It's been in Aries since 2018. I remember this moment because I was writing about it thinking that it was going to be in Aries for the rest of my life, right? It's not. Chiron was last in Taurus from 76 to 83. So depending on the retrograde cycle, it might have booped in and out, but if you were born around that time, you might be experiencing your Chiron return. Chiron in Taurus, Chiron represents the wounds that heal, okay? The wounds that heal. I think about like acupuncture. It's a wound, but it heals, right? It's such a great representation of Chiron and the Chiron journey. The Magi astrologers wrote about Chiron completely differently than the way that modern astrologers talk about Chiron. Chiron is, yes, it's the wounded healer, the archetype of that that centaur, that all the other centaurs are football throwing, eating pizza, jocks, like watching the sports channel, right? But Chiron is on the side of the mountain studying herbs and studying the ancient ways. And so there's a part of Chiron in us that feels isolated, different, lonely, vulnerable, hurt. And if you follow the Chiron story, right, he ends up injuring himself with his own poison arrow. So there's an element of self-sabotage. And then a choice that comes at the end of that self-sabotage journey of whether I stay and suffer or whether I die and transcend that. And so the Magi astrologers look at Chiron as a connection to our love, like our supernatural loves, that twin flame type feeling, versus the body, the physical body. That have come back up for healing, or maybe there's some advances in medicine for that. Toward, again, this healing food system, healing the earth. That's what I like to. That's why I type stuff. And maybe we're revisiting old home sites or just hanging out with the fam. Jupiter's going to move into Leo. That's another really, really big one. Jupiter is a big, bold, expansive energy, right? And so is Leo. Leo, that your best cheerleading friend, like the one that's going to just encourage you and root you forward and talk you up and tell you how gorgeous you are, right? That Jupiter and Leo vibe, that is big energy. So be more you, be more you than you've ever been. It's going to be there for about a year. And in June, Aries, I want you to consider healing some of your self-worth, your finances, this second house interest with Chiron and Taurus, this idea that you're healing something that has to do with your sense of security. Do you do it from a place of, hey, this is clearly aligned with what I think the creator wants for my life, right? And so how we spend has a lot to do with our self-worth, but that's a counseling session, right? All right. So some light, fresh foods for you to celebrate this series, maybe some grilled asparagus, a little lemon zest, something like that. Sound fun? Something to play with? There's some other menu items for you to try. All right, as we look at Q3, we call this period the dearth in beekeeping, the dearth, July through September. This comes with tests, right? Tests, spiritual tests when we're in the desert, that idea of temptation. You're on a fast and your best friend calls and says like, hey, let's go get a burger, or hey, let's go get a chai, or something that just sounds good to you because you're hungry, right? There will be temptations, of course. And so this time of year is an intense moment for spiritual discipline and for you to really encounter your creator. So Uranus is going to sextile a retrograde Neptune and trine a retrograde Pluto. Those are all the outer planets talking to each other. So what was starting and brewing in April is really going to be ignited in July. Ignited? Yeah, ignite. We have eclipses. We have 2 eclipses in August as well. So during this third quarter, can you have patience and perseverance when you're feeling tested or when there's cosmic delays? And just a reminder that rejection is God's protection. The journal prompt is, am I living aligned with my highest values and divine timing? Or am I forcing something to happen that's out of divine timing, right? Deserts represent important moments in our lives and it shapes our journey home. So don't skip over your desert if you're having a desert moment. July is an 8-month in a year. I see people making big changes during 8 months. And I mean big changes like moving countries or moving households or starting new careers or closing old ones out. The 8 is that figure 8 energy, that infinity symbol, and what goes out karmically comes back to us. It's that karmic cosmic boomerang, and it's roll the dice type risk-taking energy. If you dream it, you can do it. Walt Disney, like I said, all of the outer planets are talking to each other. We could go on and on about each of these, but the one I want to call your attention to is the North Node in Aquarius. The North Node's moving into Aquarius from Pisces, right? We've been on this spiritual signpost, this synchronicity journey, this like, oh yeah, I'm seeing the signs everywhere. And now it's going to shift into Aquarius. It's a different vibe altogether. Aquarius is much cooler, much drier, much clearer, and much more stubborn, much more fixed, right? Much more direct. And it's a group think. So Aquarius is co-ruled by both Saturn and Uranus, very different energies, very modest, yet also very progressive. It's very mixed energy here with the North Node in Aquarius. So definitely that continued idea of social reform and changing things for society. So, yes, free thinking and a beautiful blend of what's possible. Hope and imagination meet tech somehow. And there's some intensity to confront power and face spiritual truths. So, can you stand up for what's right for you spiritually in the face of culture, right? Because culture is worldly, it's material. And what's right for you is ethereal, it's supernatural. That's the business of your soul. So can you be you and stand up for your rights, beliefs? What is it that you need to say in the midst of a sea of culture that is going to tell you some truths and some lies, and you're having to discern which is what, right? Um, there's this idea of chasing the wild goose in July. The Celtic Christians, the ancient Celtic Christians, used to call the Holy Spirit the wild goose. And I love that because I'm very Jupiterian in my chart. And I love this idea of being on a wild goose chase and saying, yeah, I'll go anywhere with you. I'll follow you. Yes, I'll go there. Yes, I'll show up even when I don't want to, because I'm on this goose chase, right? And I was reading the book, Chasing the Wild Goose. I think his name is Mark Batterson. Um, and I was at an Airbnb chasing a wild goose. literally a bunch of wild geese showed up in that moment. How wild is that? Because we don't have geese in my area. I didn't know we had them in that area. So it was really interesting timing. But are you willing to be in that 8 abundant growth spurt? Are you willing to dream and dream big and dream prayerful and include the creator in these conversations and these desires? Are you willing to go chase the wild goose in July? And Aries, for you guys, again, this idea of community leadership comes back over and over and over again. So you are going to be pioneering and you're going to be responsible for some people, right? Now, in a way, everybody has their own responsibilities, but I feel like you're going to be called to do some sort of leadership within a group, small or big, in 2026. Okay, in July, I feel like we've got 2 eclipses, and that can be very distorting both in Leo and in Pisces. And so, can we ignore the distortion and remind ourselves that we're in that 1 year? What is it that you decided to focus on this year? Did some of the stuff from the past come creeping back up? Do you need to go ahead and reclose those doors and really seal things off so that when you sleep, you can be in total rest and your subconscious isn't just running the spin cycle all night and then you wake up exhausted, right? It's a 9 month. It's a month of intensity, of pressure, of ending, integration, closing, culmination, doing this and putting it to bed. So the Leo, I thought that was a funny Sabian symbol that went with the Leo one, and really kind of a funny Sabian symbol that went with the Pisces one too. So will there be like some mass revival type feeling, like this born again type feeling, this leader that is involved in the spiritual world? It's going to be interesting that more will be revealed for sure. So some of our churches and some of our synagogues and some of our places of worship are going to have, I think, some interesting changes, some for better, some for worse. So when I tried to distill this down into a bullet point for you guys, right, what I want to do is show you the chart of the entire eclipse, of both eclipses, and then go dissect it and look at your specific chart. But as an astrologer that is trying to speak to many people with many different levels of astrology enthusiasts here, what I did was I looked at where is Leo, where is Pisces in an Aries chart. So if we rotate the chart with Aries on the first house, what we're going to see is Leo in the 5th house, right? And then Pisces in the 12th house. And so I just took from there. So I said creative 5th house, surrender 12th house. So what is it that's really wanting to happen through you that you have been putting off? Or maybe you just were gathering tools along the way, and finally in this 9 month, all of these ideas are finally coming together and you're having this full moon moment. And everybody that you've met along the path has like been there for a reason. And you can go back in your timeline and say, yeah, that guy that I worked with on this film has a photography friend and she does this. And now all of this stuff is coming together. What is it that you thought you wanted to do with your life, right? Like, and are you willing to just put it all down and Pisces surrender, and see what it like? I definitely did not wake up a little girl thinking I wanted to breed insects or queen bees, right? But that's what I'm doing. I put down my plans to answer a higher calling. So that's just a little bit of the vibe for you going on in August. We want to watch for safety around fire, Leo, and water, Pisces. These are things like you'll see things like water pipes bursting, boil water notices. You'll see things like hot water accidents or just news, really, like lava, like the volcanoes in the water, things like this. And so you want to be careful with your August travel plans for sure. Okay, and then in September it's a 1-1, so it's a double rainbow when the month and the year are the same. This is a reset button. This is the freshest moment of the year is September to have that 1-1 energy. And yet here we are with some more, interesting, challenging aspects. Mars is in fall in Cancer. It doesn't like to be there. It's squaring Saturn in Aries. These are a battle of the malefics. This is a spiritual battle, and this is a reminder that what we are battling is not material at all, right? It's a spiritual battle. I call it spiritual war prayer that I do in the morning. And one of my friends cashed it to me like this: praying for our enemies is not it's not like as shallow as it sounded when I was growing up. Yeah, pray for your enemies, okay. Bless her heart, like we say in the South. But what it does is it turns their hatred into blessings. And I'm here for that alchemy. I'm here for that. Yeah, I mean, it's like bring on that because I can just transform it all day long, over and over and over. And what maybe an enemy force intended for bad, God intended for good, and then I can work with that energy to change it, to transmute it. So these are considerations. This is a battle of the malefics in uncomfortable territory, and that's why we're having to have a physical reset, a mental reset, an emotional reset, and have this fresh start. Uranus will retrograde in Gemini, and I do think that there will be some chaotic energy around that time. So just a reminder to go slow. Mercury opposes Neptune, so Mercury is the way we think, which we prefer, like bullet point, clarity, clear, direct. Just give me the details. And it's opposing Neptune, which diffuses everything. It's very dementia, very scattered thinking, very distorted, feels like Pandora's box. And so just a reminder that we want to stay focused. What is it that you're going to stay focused on? Neptune's going to sextile Pluto, and the spiritual doors are going to be open. So there's going to be people with more spiritual gifts, with more prophecy, with more visions and dreams and things like this. And then in equinox, the sun enters Libra. And so during that time with the sun in Libra, that'll be in your 7th house of partnership and collaboration, Aries. And so this is a time, whether you are with somebody or not, that you can look for ways to be a better partner, ways to be really good at collaborating, ways to just, if you want to have a friend, be a friend, that type of energy. So I love this for you guys. It'll light up that side of your chart and allow another reset in that area of life too. So a couple of nourishing ideas for you guys. Maybe you do something over the fire. Maybe you grill some kebabs. Maybe you got some veggie kebabs and you do like a hot honey, like a fire honey, and you drizzle it over it. That would be so yummy with your late summer produce. Oh, yeah, I could talk about cooking all day. Okay, and then the last quarter of the year, harvest and renewal. This is lost and found. This is our redemption story. So Venus and Venus and Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. This quarter, you're looking for gratitude, right? You're looking for the things that you are grateful for. You're willing to give forgiveness. You are closing cycles. You're leaning into hope and what is eternal rather than what is temporal. So your journal prompt or something for reflection is, what can I celebrate, right? What am I tying up in order, I said, to prepare for 2026, but now it will be the next year, right? So October is a 2-month. This is what we've already had this earlier. This is going to be a relationship month, and the relationship is between me and God, right? Me and my higher power. This is recovering my soul and my worth and my being proud of myself and the life that I've lived, right? This is my redemption story. So Venus and Mercury retrograde in Scorpio for you, Aries. This is a renewal of intimacy. This is reflecting on the deepest human bonds that you've had, and what is that redemption that needs to happen there? What is the forgiveness that needs to happen with the intimate side of your life? And are there some addictions? Are there some other things that you are willing or wanting to let go of? And this retrograde moment would be great for that. Cutting out sugar, Venus, cutting out negative thinking and obsessive thoughts, Mercury, right? Lots of ideas for you, but that should give you just a little taste. In November, it's a creative month with a 3 in a 1 year. Mars, Jupiter, South Node, all in Leo. Right, that's the highlight for November. Is it superstar, like Mars, Jupiter, right? South Node. Is it superstar, something I'm good at that I'm being recognized for? Or is it super spreader? I don't know. Which way is it going to go? But for you, I feel like it's going to be November is a month for you to take some risks creatively. Think about like building your best like product or your best creative I can't think of the right word, like you're building your masterpiece is what I want to say. So if you are a musician, you're writing like the symphony of your life. If you are a teacher, you're writing the lesson plans that will outlive you, that will be your legacy. If you are a beekeeper, you're breeding the queens that will inform all of the genetics of your state. You're doing something big, so listen in. listen prayerfully, listen mindfully, and collaborate, right, with the creator, the ultimate creator, to know what it is that's wanting to happen through you. December is lighter. It's a take it easy month. Saturn and Neptune will go direct. Jupiter will go retrograde. I just feel like I'm really looking forward to that. It's a foundational reset as well. I feel like it will feel stable. So if you've had a big, huge accordion year of energy, I feel like December will kind of rein things in a bit. For you all, this is a month when you can be really thinking about your career, your reputation, how the world sees you and what it needs from you. And what is your midheaven, right? What is your midheaven? What's your purpose? What's the sense of the lens that you do all things with? My midheaven is in Virgo. So I like to do things with bullet points, and I like to talk about health and healing and gardens and herbs and bees and things like this, right? For you guys, what is your midheaven? What lens is it that will help you see the next part of your soul's evolution when it comes to your career? And what new foundations can you set in place for that? So maybe it's a cool month to take a class or just to do some journaling and reset. You could ask your friends what they think that you would be great at. It could have something to do with income. It could have nothing to do with income. It could just be, that simple the idea of purpose and what the world needs from me and how I'm going to show up a little differently. All right. So some cozy meals for the end of the year. Maybe you've got a spiced cider or an apple cider that you do with fresh apples and fresh cinnamon. Something like that sounds delightful. All right, some closing concepts for you guys. Our guiding light is the creator of the heaven and the earth and the moons and the stars, right? The spiritual journey offers this when we come to the end of ourselves, right? When we get through the end of our ego, when we get through the ideas of who we thought we were, we return home. We return to a spiritual home. And the doors are always open there, right? We want to worship the creator, not the created. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Love your enemies to turn hatred into a blessing. And just stay tuned, stay in tune with that guiding light. Aries, you are a brave heart. As a reminder, just close your eyes, soak this in. I gave you the fire of courage. You lead others through the wilderness, daring to go first. Use your passion to fight for justice and lift the weary. Your gift is bold leadership, pioneering spirit, and a contagious courage. That's very Jupiter and Leo feeling, isn't it? All right, Aries, the mountains are calling. You got to go. You got to go live your life. You got to go for it. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Tiffany. And if you are interested in the digital astrology calendar, it's at wiseguyscalendar.com and use your code Stormie2026 to get a discount. We love you so much. Have a blessed year. Thanks for being here, and namaste.
Hey there, welcome to the locational astrology section of this video. I'm so excited to support you. My name's Helena Woods, and I'm a leading locational astrology and astrocartography specialist, traveling full-time around the world, data collecting and testing this information of how to be in the best places at the right times, using the power of astrocartography combined with transits and progressions. So if you don't know astrocartography, it's essentially a sub-niche, subdivision within the bigger umbrella that is locational astrology. And it's essentially the astrology of place, the astrology of location. Places have influence, places have power, and I'm on a mission to support people to unlock their natal promise and be in the places that awaken and activate aspects within the birth chart. The most important thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to note when transiting planets are hitting your personal planets. Now, in this video, I'm giving general descriptions for each rising sign. However, astrocartography is very personal in that your moon's at a certain degree. Your Venus is not going to be the same Venus that someone else's rising sign is, right? Our planets in our birth chart are in specific zodiac signs at specific degrees in certain parts of the chart. And so the key thing I want you to take away from this whole video is that when you go to an astrocartography line, let's say the moon line, for instance, you want to go to that moon line when a transiting planet like the sun, Venus, or Jupiter is going over your moon, because that's where we're getting the most acceleration, enhancement of being at the right place at the right time. And so I've been doing this in my own life for the last 3 years, traveling the world full time, noting the planets that I would like to receive from. So for example, if you want publicity and acknowledgement and attention, you'd go to your sun line. If you want to launch or promote or even commerce, sales, marketing, socializing with friends, having an astrology meetup, meeting up with people, Mercury lines. If you need some confidence and courage, go to a Mars line. If you're looking for some more knowledge and expansion, seeing more possibilities, that question of where do I need to be expanded in my life? What needs clarity? Go to a Jupiter line. So utilizing and understanding what these planets represent in astrology, knowing their meanings, you can plan trips accordingly to go to those places to get the maximum enhancement of what that planet symbolizes. And also being there at a time when you personally are getting the activation by transits and progressions to your planets. This is where things really take off to a whole other level. The other way that you can get the maximum benefit of these stories, even if you don't travel, is by getting the energy through remote activation. So calling up that friend that lives on the Mercury line when you've got the transit, reaching out to that podcast to do a collaboration on your Jupiter line. Even though you don't live on the Jupiter line, you know a podcast host who lives on your Jupiter line. Reaching out to them when the timing brings it up, okay? Obviously, traveling to these lines and being in these locations is where you're going to get the most maximum benefit of astrocartography, but still, these are important things that you can do that can help you. So let's get into the 2026 travel forecast. Now, the best time to really travel in 2026 will be when Jupiter is direct. And this is between the time frame of March 10th to December 11th. We start 2026 off. We start the year off with Jupiter retrograde, but Jupiter, the planet of travel, knowledge, and expansion, will move direct. On March 10th, Jupiter will station direct, will move direct on March 10th. And so once we get to March 10th and Jupiter's direct, I really love this for all things travel. Note as we get to the end of the year that Jupiter will also retrograde December 12th of 2026. So just some key timeframes to note in your calendar for the year. Now I want to kind of bring up an example of how you can use astrocartography with timing, as I mentioned earlier. In 2026, we have Jupiter in Cancer. If you have any planets in Cancer personally, or Leo, if you have any personal planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Uranus even, Neptune, outer planets, Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, even the nodes, if you have the lunar nodes in Cancer or Leo. This year, if you have any planets in Cancer, this is the year to go to that planetary line that you have that's being transited by Jupiter. Same thing with next year. As we get into next June 30th of 2026, Jupiter will ingress into Leo. If you have any planets in Leo, including the lunar nodes and even the outer planets, if you have any placements in Leo, going to that astrocartography line as Jupiter is hitting it. So for instance, if you have Mars in Leo, or you have the Sun in Leo, or you have Mercury in Leo, going to the Mercury line when Jupiter is hitting it is a really cool way to accelerate things, enhance your life, and get a lot of cool opportunities and expansions and enhancements with that Jupiter transit. So wanted to just mention this right at the top before we get into the rising sign forecast. Look at the planets that you have in your birth chart. If you have anything in Cancer or Leo, this is going to be a major time to travel to those astrocartography lines to get the benefit of the Jupiter transit. All right, let's get started. Aries risings. Jupiter lines would be ideal places for you to travel to, with Sagittarius being in your 9th whole sign house. The 9th whole sign house is all about travel and foreign cultures. Ideal times to travel would be between November 23rd and December 24th
of 2025, with the Sun and Venus traveling through your 9th house of Sagittarius. Other key dates to pay attention to this year, Aries risings: November 23rd, 2026 until December 21st, 2026. Moon lines are places in the world that you may feel at home and comfortable in. An ideal time to travel to your moon lines this year in 2026 would be between May 20th and June 13th of 2026. Now, another cool little thing, Venus will be traveling and transiting through your 3rd house. So if you have any Gemini placements, any placements in Gemini, Sun, Moon, Venus, Mars, Mercury, etc., if you have any Gemini placements, go to those planetary lines that you have in Gemini. So if you got your moon in Gemini, go to a moon line. Now, Venus will be traveling through your 3rd house between April 24th of this year, 26, until May 18th. So between April 24th and May 18th, go to that Gemini placement astrocartography line. Venus is traveling through your 3rd house of local travel, road trips, commuting, short distance travel. So if you want to take a quick train, you want to go to a nearby town, you want to plan a little short trip, a short mini vacation, go into an astrocartography line, that is the time when Venus will be traveling through your 3rd house of travel, of local travel. All right, Aries risings, excited for you. So check out those moon lines and check out those Jupiter lines on your astrocartography map, and those timelines are really going to support you. I hope that this information supported you and helped you in planning your travels this year in 2026. And so if you want to learn more about this, you can check out my website at helenawoods.com and also get my free astrocartography cheat sheet. You can join my astrocartography newsletter, which is all free, at helenawoods.com/cheat sheet. All this to say, though, this is going to be an amazing year of travel. I'm really excited for everyone to be taking advantage of Jupiter in Cancer and Uranus in Gemini.